my first point is this, Congressman. You know, I watched the interview, and I was stunned. It took my breath away. As James Comey talked about the dossier, well, it could have happened. The bulk of information to obtain that warrant to spy on an American, an associate of the Trump campaign in an election year, was the dossier. And if it wasn't for you and your committee, we never would have learned that, or the Grassley-Graham memo that came out. Do you think what does that mean about what they said to a FISA court?
The irony here is quite frankly hard to believe. You know, some of the language that Mr. Comey uses, like he says, well, it's currently, or I think he said it's certainly possible that the Russians had information on Trump. Well, it's certainly possible. It's certainly possible that the Russians could have information on Comey. It's certainly possible that the Russians could have information on Hillary Clinton. It's certainly possible that they could have information on all kinds of people.
When that dossier, which made up the bulk of the FISA application and subsequent 3 renewal applications, if it's possible and it wasn't verified and it wasn't corroborated and you still presented it to a judge and you never told the judge that Hillary paid for it, bought and paid for it, and that it was a foreign national that printed salacious, unproven lies from Russian sources, did they lie to a FISA court judge, in your opinion?
Well, by not telling the FISA court, it's totally inappropriate because they knew the information and they have a duty and obligation to tell the court everything that they know. But, Sean, let's go back also to when we were first briefed about the dossier, we, Congress. So we heard in Mr. Comey's interview what he said, what President Trump's reaction was to learning about the dossier. And he talked about why he didn't tell President Trump that it was paid for by his political opponents. Well, there's other people that are important in this, like the United States Congress. I was in the meeting with Senator McConnell, with Leader McConnell, with the Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, and many others, where he had ample opportunity in early 2017 to tell us who paid for the dossier. We were briefed on the dossier, and I can tell you, if they would have brought up, if the FBI would have presented to us on that day that this information was paid for by the Democratic Party and then used, or forget the fact that it was even used in the FISA.
And wasn't verified.
But wasn't verified. And well, we knew it wasn't verified at the time because they told us that it wasn't verified. Okay? But can you imagine the reaction? First of all, I think I would have spit up my coffee and started laughing. But secondly, we would have walked out of there. We would have said, what in the hell are you guys doing? You're bringing us dirt that the Hillary Clinton campaign paid for. You guys have been using this, and you're now presenting it to us as to, you know, why you have concerns about the Trump campaign. I mean, this would have been laughable at the time. How could this not be illegal, though? I feel that this is probably one of the, if not the biggest abuse of power that I've ever seen in my entire life. And when you then go back to and you see that, you know, these same players keep coming up, and it was Comey with Trump hating Peter Strzok. We still haven't gotten all the text messages. And then Peter Strzok is the one that interviews Hillary, and Peter Strzok and James Comey are writing an exoneration in May, and they don't interview her till July. It seems to me that that investigation was rigged, sir. Or let's just throw another one in there. You have this, Mr. Comey volunteered this up in the interview the other day. He said that the FISA on Carter Page wasn't the initial reason that they started the investigation. It was Papadopoulos. Okay, so you wanted to investigate Papadopoulos. You had concerns about Papadopoulos. Just for your viewers, that was in July of 2016. Well, why is it that you never bothered to talk to Mr. Papadopoulos, but you did bother to go and get a FISA warrant on Mr. Page in October of 16? You don't talk to Papadopoulos until 2017? Well, wait a second. I thought Papadopoulos was the reason you started the investigation in the first place. So these are all unanswered questions. It keeps unraveling on them, but we have to keep fighting.
Well, we need the information.
Bit by bit. We need the information. We need all the information.
This all needs to go to court, and people need to be held in contempt of Congress, and I agree with you on the second special counsel. All right, Congressman, we appreciate your hard work.
Always a pleasure.